Variables are placeholders for storing dynamically or programmatically supplied user values. Hi, I'm Seema from AutomationEdge Professional Services. In this video, I will describe the Get Variables Process Studio step to fetch variable values and to assign them to fields in the workflow stream. The Get Variables step can explicitly retrieve values from variables in a workflow. Process Studio has 4 ways to capture dynamic user inputs. The 4 types of variables are user-defined variables, internal variables, parameters, and Process Studio variables. The Get Variables step can fetch variables of all types. Let us define the Get Variables step. Get Variables is a step in the Process plugin for Process Studio workflows. Use the Get Variables step to define fields from variables. The Get Variables step reads all types of variables and assigns them to fields in the stream as string values. This step can return rows or add values to input rows. Get Variable step cannot be used in a workflow to create fields if the variable was defined in the same workflow using the Set Variables step. Now let us go to Process Studio and see the configuration options. I'm in Process Studio and I have opened a blank workflow Get Variables. In the Design tab, search for the Get Variable step. Let us drag and drop the Get Variable step on the canvas. To view the configuration options, double-click on the step. Let us describe each of the fields one by one. The first one is step name. Please provide a name for the step as you would like it to appear in the workflow, workspace, or canvas. Note that the name has to be unique in a single workflow. For example, you can use a convention such as the first 3 letters of the step name, say get variables underscore a meaningful description such as if I want to fetch stock symbols variable, I can mention here stock symbols. For now, let us ignore it, so I'll just say cancel. Let us double click it again. In the fields table, the first field is the name. Specify a field name to store the variable value. So for example, say I provide project. In the variable, provide the variable name. Now the format to provide the variable name, as you can see in the description, is to use the sigils $ and put the variable in braces, or use the sigil $%. Now if a field in Process Studio has this $sign, you can use the control space to list the variables. In this case, I can see 3 internal variables. So let me say project name. Or another way to populate variable is to use the Get Variables button at the bottom. You can click the Get Variables button to fetch all variables of all types that are available at once. So in this case, you can see that there are 3 variables. These are all internal variables as we have not defined any other variables in this workflow. For now, let me just retain the project name. So I can give a name of my choice. So I just want to give it the name project name, and I'll use the variable $project.name in braces. The next is type. Remember, by default it assigns the type string to the new field to create. However, we can select a type from the list such as number, date, boolean, integer, and so on. For now, let me leave it string. After specifying the type, select a format from the list. This list appears based on the type you selected. So for example, for number, the list in the format changes. So let us keep string. I don't wish to set any particular format type here. In the length, specify the length of the field. For number, it is the total number of significant figures in the number. For string, it is the total length of the string. And for date, it is the length of the printed output of the string. For example, entering 4 would return the year. In this case, let me just put 100. Specify the precision. For number, it is the number of floating point digits. Precision is not used for string, date, or boolean. Suppose I want to see 2 numbers after the digit, so I can put a precision 2. Next is currency. Specify the currency format to interpret numbers with currency symbols. For example, specify $10,000 with comma as a group separator and period as a decimal separator to interpret numbers in this format. Another example is Euro 5000 with period as the group separator and comma as the decimal separator to interpret numbers in this format. The next is decimal. specify a decimal separator, such as period or comma, for number values. In the group, specify a group indicator, example, to use a period or comma for number values. And finally, specify the trim type for the field before processing. So you can select from the list. It can be none, or a left trim, or a right trim, or both left and right trim. Let us recap. We saw the get variable step, description, and configuration options. AutomationEdge can jumpstart your digital transformation journey. You can quickly automate processes with the innumerable pre-built plugin actions.